Hey, Army fans, welcome out to GoBlackKnights.com's post-game analysis with Joe Iacono. Wanted to remind everyone that this and other great content can be found on GoBlackKnights.com when you purchase a premium subscription to GoBlackKnights.com for $99 a year. We run specials all throughout the year. You get the first recruiting news, the best recruiting news. You get some exclusive interviews with players and coaches, and exclusive interviews with former players, all kinds of things. Let's get into it. Post-game, Army-Syracuse, final score today, Syracuse 29, Army 16 at the JMA Dome. I think Army played pretty well, honestly. Sometimes you just run into a better, bigger, faster team. As Jeff Monken is famous for saying, physical superiority cancels all theory. And that's what we saw today. The Army team played their butts off. They played great football for 30 minutes. And then Syracuse probably made some halftime adjustments. Not sure if I was able to pick up on any of those, but clearly there were some differences in their front seven on defense. And they clearly decided to stop trying to run the ball into the teeth of the Army defense and exploit the mismatches on the corners and open up the playbook. And Syracuse's athleticism just took over. They had 7-inch height advantages over Bo Nicholas Paul and Cam Jones. And that's not a knock on Cam Jones or Bo Nicholas Paul or Jabari Moore. Syracuse just has very tall, very lanky, very talented receivers who are going to give everyone in the ACC problems. And you could say the exact same thing about their quarterback, Garrett Schrader. He's an amazing dual threat. We held him in check for one half, weren't able to hold him in check for the whole game. And you look, Army lost the turnover battle 2-1, but really two of those turnovers were interceptions in desperation time when Syracuse knew Army needed to throw the ball. So really, if you look at the turnover battle, Army kind of won it for the first half and kept themselves in the game. But the second half was just a completely different story. So let's get into some of what happened and a little bit of a recap, a little bit of analysis. So, Army gets the ball first quarter, textbook Army drive, best drive of the season, honestly, against a really, really good defense, as you guys saw later in the game. 17 plays, 75 yards, over 9 minutes off the clock. Very physical O-line play. I'll tell you what, I was very encouraged at the way our offensive line was able to push Syracuse's defensive line around on that first drive and really throughout much of the first half. So really good things there from the offensive line. We should be really excited about that. Jacoby Buchanan, whether in the shotgun or not, very difficult to stop on fourth down. We converted a couple fourth downs on that drive, and we're able to go right in and score and take the lead 7-0. Then one of the key plays of the entire game, probably, Cam Jones did a really nice job breaking on a pass by Garrett Schrader on their next drive. And if he holds on to the ball, there's no doubt in my mind it's a pick six and Army's up 14-0. However, Cam Jones wasn't able to complete the catch, drops the ball, costs Army 7 points. Again, no knock on Cam Jones, great coverage. Happens to everybody. Everybody drops a pass now and then. And, that was just when you're playing a team like Syracuse, if you're Army and you're such big underdogs, you've got to make a play like that. You have to take advantage of every single opportunity. And that was clearly an opportunity missed where Army could have gone up 14-0. And instead they were only up 7-0. And if you look all throughout the game, after Noah Short's TD late, they would have only been down 6 points and really would have had a shot to pull off a big upset late. Which takes us really to the second quarter. Defense continued to play great. The defense, Nate Woody really sold out to stop the run of Garrett Schrader and LaQuint Allen. And the defense, for the most part, did a great job. Caleb Fortner, who's new to the starting lineup, is doing a phenomenal job at linebacker, made 2 big plays in a row. Army then on the next drive gets a key holding penalty. And, when Army gets in long yardage situations like that, it typically doesn't go well. Daly gets sacked, fumbles the ball. Thankfully, Army lands on it. But I think what we learned in this game is while Army has more of a passing threat than they did in the past, primarily because of receivers like Isaiah Alston and Noah Short, and the O-line's a little better at pass blocking. Still, if Army's going to win ball games, they got to do it on the ground. If they got to beat teams through the air to win, it's going to be an uphill battle for them. Army gets a 3-and-out, forces a 3-and-out on Syracuse. The run D continues to be stout. Syracuse failed to take advantage of blown coverage there and turn the ball back over to Army with a punt. Bryson Daly showed what a tough runner he is. People have questioned, why put a former linebacker at quarterback? Well, first of all, he was a two-way player in high school, like a lot of really talented kids are. He played quarterback and linebacker, but you saw what a tough runner he can be at 6 foot 215, and he really lays a lick and punishes guys who are coming up to tackle him. Cam Jones redeemed himself, made a really nice interception before the half that he was maybe a couple tackles short of breaking all the way for a pick six there. So really good effort by Cam Jones. Played about as good a game as could be expected. In the first half, Army was dominating the trenches on both sides of the ball, as well as time of possession, obviously. The refs on Army's last drive, which led to a field goal, which led to them going up 10-3 at the half, missed an obvious pass interference call on Noah Short, where he was blown up in the secondary, and nobody seemed to see it except the announcers. I do want to give a shout out to Mark Hertzlich. He clearly did his research, the analyst at ACC Network. In my opinion, he was the best analyst Army has had for a game other than Ross Tucker on the home CBS Sports Network in the past. So kudos to Mark Hertzlich for really doing his research and doing a great job covering the game. Felt like he gave a good mix of, Army stuff, honoring the country, honoring the cadets, that kind of thing, but also knew his football inside and out and really knew a lot about the Army team, Drew Thatcher's offense, Nate Woody's defense. Hats off to Mark Hertzlich. That was a professional announcing job, big time. Kind of a sidebar there, but anyway, I've seen Army be covered on other networks, and it's clear none of the announcers did any research prior to the game other than what they saw in the media guide. Q3, this is when the tide turned, right? Syracuse made some adjustments, came out, and we're just loaded for bear. Even with that being said, Army makes a huge 4th-and-1 stop on Syracuse's first drive. And then on sudden change, you feel like, okay, Army's up 10-3. They really need to take advantage of this, go down and get a quick score or even a long score, eat some clock, and go up by 2 touchdowns. Unfortunately, it was a 3-and-out, and it was much like that the rest of the second half. Syracuse comes back, hits an explosive to the receiver Alford, who took advantage of his height advantage on Cameron Jones. Then TD run up the middle by LeQuint Allen. An explosive run for after another 3-and-out by Army. At this point, it was clear Syracuse had the momentum and was starting to dominate. They got another quick strike score as Schrader really began to eat up Nate Woody's zone defense. The announcers were talking about Army's not adjusting. Again, with physical mismatches, I'm not sure how much you can adjust at that point. What's he going to do? He adjusts and overplays the pass, and then they get burned up the middle with runs by Allen and Schrader. Syracuse did miss an extra point, which kept it interesting. They were only up 16-10 at that point. Then Army gets the ball back, another 3-and-out. Syracuse dominated the third quarter about as much as a quarter could be dominated. But again, I didn't think it was because Army was playing poorly, making mistakes. I didn't feel like they were coaching poorly. I just felt like, hey, this team's better. We ran into a brick wall. And I've seen that a lot. You've seen it with Army even. When they play teams they're superior to, the other team can maybe hang around for a half, and then it starts to get out of control. And that's what was going to happen, and that's why Army really needed that pick six in the first quarter, I think, in order to be able to keep it close. So 16-10 going into the fourth quarter. Army does a really nice job holding Syracuse to a field goal, but at that point, it's a 2-score game. Army's down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. It's desperation time. They're down 19-10. Now they have to get a touchdown in order to keep it close. And it became apparent that when teams know Army has to throw the ball, Bryce Daly and the Army offense really probably aren't going to beat too many people with their passing game, despite two very talented receivers in Noah Short and Isaiah Alston, amongst others. Army went for it on 4th and 8 deep in their own territory. I'm sure Jeff Monken's going to leave himself open to criticism on that one, but you know what? I honestly don't disagree with the call. At that point, you're down 19-10. What are you going to do? Punt and let Syracuse come down and go up 26-10? It's kind of a last-ditch effort. They had to go for it on 4th and 8. Syracuse's front seven just dominated, shut them down. They score again. At that point, our defense had been on the field most of the second half, so it was obvious they were worn out. Kind of what we try to do to teams and what we had done to Syracuse in the first half. Syracuse is now up 16-10, still a 2-score game. Bryson Daly throws another key interception, which really put the game out of reach at that point. Defense still playing hard. Jimmy Charlo with a really nice 3rd down sack, but Syracuse kicks a field goal to go up 29-10. Army drives down. Nice drive put together, but again, Daly threw a questionable pass over the middle at the goal line and gets picked off again. It's now Syracuse has the ball back, up 19 points. Defense stops them, and then on the first play from scrimmage, Daly hits an 80-yard bomb to Noah Short to make it 29-16. Army goes for 2, doesn't get it, and then basically Syracuse runs the clock out. So Army loses 29-16. The spread was 13 points. So Army pretty much did what was expected. I think, honestly, in the first half, they exceeded expectations. If we look at some of the final stats here, Syracuse ended up winning the yardage battle 403 to 270. 3rd down efficiency. Really good look at Army's defense here. 3rd down, Syracuse was only 3 for 11. They were 1 of 2 on 4th down. Army 3 of 4 on 4th down again. Syracuse ran for 158, almost all of that in the second half. Army did throw to 2 picks to Syracuse's 1. Leading stat getters for Army, Bryson Daly, of course, through the air, 9 for 22 for 145 yards, 1 TD and 2 picks. Daly was also the leading rusher with 20 carries for 47 yards. His rushing totals came down a lot and were impacted a lot by some sacks in the second half. Jacoby Buchanan had a really good first half. Didn't get a lot of short yardage opportunities to use him in the second half, so that's why they didn't. 6 carries for 22 yards. Kanye Udo made some good flashes, 5 carries for 16 yards. They used Markel Johnson a lot. Ijon Marshall is carried off with an ankle injury. Hopefully he heals up. Also, Andre Miller, our thoughts and prayers are definitely with him as he took a head-to-head collision. Don't want to speculate on what that is, but they were very cautious. Hopefully he'll be okay and be able to come back later in the year. Garrett Schrader went 21 for 26 for 245 with a touchdown and a pick. LaQuinn Allen was Syracuse's leading rusher, 21 carries, 104 yards, 5-yard per carry average, and 1 touchdown. Army going forward, if they continue to play like they played against UTSA and Delaware State and Syracuse, this team is going to win some football games. Yes, the schedule is tough. Yes, it doesn't get any easier from here. They got a bye week next week to get right and get healed before they host Boston College, which is going to be a challenge, right? But I think if they play like they played against Syracuse today at home at Mikey, early prediction, they beat Boston College. I think they can beat Troy at home, although, again, they got to play a great game. And then they go on the road to LSU, which is probably a loss. Come back home. UMass at home should be a win if they play well. Air Force, they're going to be a dog on the road, but that game could go either way. It's an academy game. And then they come back and they have Holy Cross at home and Coastal at home. Holy Cross is a tough FCS opponent, but that should be a win. Coastal at home. Saw Coastal against Georgia State the other night. Didn't look that great. They'll clearly be favored in that game, but at Mikey Stadium, that's clearly a gettable one if Army continues to play good football and doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And then, of course, the Navy game. So when you look at the schedule, I think Army's right on schedule. I had them at 2-2 at this point in the season. They lost one game that we didn't expect, and they won one game that a lot of people didn't expect. So they're 2-2. I think they're still on track for a 7-5 season and a bowl game. I think things are looking up. I think the Drew Thatcher offense, if you look at it, is a good offense. It's productive. It's unpredictable. Obviously, what you can do and the type of plays you can run against the defense as high quality as Syracuse, one of the top 5 scoring defenses in FBS, it limits what you're able to do. But, against a BC or a Troy, they can open that playbook up a little bit. Really happy with the new offense. Really happy with the way things are going. Happy with the decrease in turnovers. And like I said, I think today they just ran into a better, more athletic team, hung in there for a half, but at the end of the day, really tough game. You got to take your lumps, get back, and get ready to go against Boston College. So thanks for listening, Army fans. Make sure you comment on the 12th night. Make sure you comment on YouTube. Let me know what I got right, what I got wrong, what your thoughts are, what you think about the schedule going forward as we head into a bye week next week. Thanks a lot. For GoBlackKnights.com, this has been Joe Iacono saying, Go Army, beat Navy.